Hi, everybody. Today we are going to cover the digestive system. I want you to think about maybe getting your giggles out now because a lot of the digestive system is pretty gross. It is talking about eating, digesting food, absorbing food, and then pooping it out. We'll spend a very minimal amount of time on that last part, but this is a very important process that our body does. If we are not getting rid of the waste in our bodies would become very toxic places. And we know that our body's main job is to keep us alive. And part of that is eliminating toxins in our body. And part of that is pooping them out, pooping and peeing them out so that we do not have them just sitting in us and making us sick. The digestive system is a part of the body that we've talked about for other animals as well. Through zoology, we talked about different types of digestive systems. And the human digestive system is a one-way digestive system. So it goes in one way and it comes out another. Some animals, like a sea anemone, for example, it has a two-way digestive system. So it goes in one way and comes out the same way. We're talking about gross. That's really gross. Okay, so this is an outside view of what the entire digestive system includes. And we're going to talk about all of these, and then at the end of the lesson, you are going to fill out a little word bank worksheet that you kind of assign the parts of the body for that digestive system. You're just going to fill those in, okay? So what is digestion? Digestion is the process of breaking down the food that can then be absorbed into our bodies. Absorption is taking the digested parts of the food into the bloodstream so that the blood can then carry that to the rest of our body so that we can use that as energy to do all of the other things that our body needs to do. The digestive system consists of the parts of the body involved in chewing and digesting food. It also moves the digested food through the animal's body, in this case the human body, and absorbs the nutrients. Cute little raccoon. Okay, monogastric. If you think about what mono means, it means one, and gastric means stomach, so one stomach. There are other animals that are monogastric, like hogs, cats, dogs. A lot of animals actually are, but there are some animals, mammals, in fact, that are not monogastric. There are some that actually have more than one stomach. If you think of, like, you've ever heard of maybe a cow, that's because they chew up their food over and over again. They chew up something called cud, and it comes up and then it goes into a different stomach to be further broken down. Luckily, we don't have to do that. We don't have to regurgitate our food, chew it some more, and then send it back into another stomach to be broken down more. Our bodies as humans are actually really efficient, and they allow us to chew our food just one time, swallow it, and then the rest of the organs in our digestive system take care of the rest of those processes. So thank you for the human body that we don't have to do that gross process again and again and again. Okay, so we have simply one stomach. That stomach secretes acid, and acid is a really important part of the digestive process because it further breaks down food and materials in our body. I'm kind of going through this quickly because we're going to talk about these in more detail in further slides, okay? So where does it begin? Actually, digestion begins in a place where you probably might not think it beginning. It actually begins when you first smell food. So if you've ever woken up in the morning, maybe you smell bacon cooking downstairs or toast or whatever is yummy to you, your body signals to your brain that causes then your mouth to water. So before you're even putting food in your mouth, digestion is beginning when you're smelling food. Your brain is being triggered to turn on to cause some of those digestive processes to begin. So your watering mouth is a part of the digestive process. It's getting your body ready to eat. Your stomach might actually start to contract. So if you've ever had hunger pains or hearing your stomach growling, that is your body signaling that you're hungry because your brain is telling your body, even before you start to eat, that you are actually hungry so that your body can get ready for that process. The other thing that starts to happen is that your intestines leak digestive chemicals. So they're getting ready to absorb Sorry, that food. Sorry, I have a little trouble talking today. Okay, so next part after smelling and your brain triggering and getting ready to eat the food is that the food enters your mouth. So I think we think about digestion as starting in our stomachs, and it doesn't. It's starting actually outside of our body with the smell. Then it goes to our mouth. Our mouth is then able to start breaking down food. So digestion is the breaking down of the food, and that begins in our mouth. For example, Marlo doesn't have teeth yet, so she cannot chew food. Once she gets teeth, then she can start to eat solid foods. And that's because her body is able to break down more complex foods other than milk. So chewing and salivary enzymes in the mouth are the beginning of the digestive process, the breaking down of food by your teeth, and also salivation. So if you open your mouth and do that in your mouth, you actually have liquids in there that are allowing the food to actually break down. There's actually acids, enzymes in your mouth that are already starting to break down the food. The next thing that happens is that your tongue lifts the food and starts to push it back into the back of your mouth to something called the pharynx. The epiglottis blocks it from going down your trachea. Your trachea is the tube that helps you breathe. That is separate from your esophagus. The esophagus is where the food goes down so that you can breathe at the same time that you're eating. It's actually a really great system. There's two tubes that are separated. One goes to your lungs and one goes to your stomach. I love this little GIF on your computer right now. You're actually seeing food going down the esophagus. So there's a rush of saliva that then comes in and helps that food more easily slide down your throat. If you've ever tried to take a swallow of something that's really dry and you don't have water or something to help you with that, then it can really kind of feel stuck in your esophagus. And that's actually what's happening. It's making it harder for it to go down. There's something called esophageal muscles, and they really are working to push that down too. And every muscle in your digestive system is a smooth muscle. That's the kind that you do not, it's an involuntary muscle, so you don't have to think about it working. You don't have to cause your stomach to do these processes, your intestines to do these processes. They are involuntary, but they're all coated with smooth muscles, and smooth muscles help to move things along. They just kind of work that way. And you can see it happening in this video here. This is another diagram of that. It's called peristalsis, and this is where you can see the contraction. That's actually moving it and contracting it, pulling down and pushing the food along. And it keeps happening, keeps pushing it along, pushing it along, pushing it along, so that nothing can ever go the other direction, because that would really stop things up and make you sick. The esophagus is a lot like a slide for your food. It goes from your throat to your stomach. Once it enters the stomach, so at the very top of your stomach is something called the lower esophageal sphincter. It's basically a trap door that connects from your esophagus to your stomach. So what's happening is that the food is getting sort of stopped there and then slowly being kind of dropped into your stomach. And the reason why that's important is because then it can close again. So all of those stomach acids in the food that's being digested there won't just go right back up into your throat again if you do a cartwheel, or if you lie down, or if you're just sitting there. For some of us, like me, I have a little bit of a heartburn or a reflux where that isn't working as great as it should. And some of that acid is able to come back up through the lower esophageal sphincter, and you can feel it. It feels like a burning kind of sensation, because that's what it is. The acid is actually burning. So where is your stomach? Go ahead and point to it. Some of you might have pointed to like where your belly button is, maybe a little bit higher, but actually your stomach is located up and sort of to the left underneath your rib cage a little bit, sort of right below your heart. It's a wide pouch shape. It actually works just like a pouch. You could carry your food around in. Okay, so once the food gets into your stomach, the stomach continues to contract and break it down. It's using those stomach acids to do that, and it's also using just the smooth muscles of the muscular contractions to move it. Your stomach is also releasing some juices from your pancreas and from your gallbladder, which we'll talk a little bit later about. Those are allowing more of the acid to come in and break it down even further. This food then becomes something called chyme. It's pronounced chyme, not chime. Chyme is basically a big soupy mess of stomach acid and broken down food. I told you this lesson was going to be gross. So the chyme is now in the bottom of your stomach, and it's starting to be pushed toward your small intestine. Its next stop on the journey is going to be your small intestine. And the most important part, probably part of your entire digestive tract, is your small intestine, because this is where all of the absorption happens. So we'll talk about that a little bit more, but first I want to say that your small intestine is kind of a misnomer. It's kind of misnamed because your small intestine is actually 20 feet long. Not small at all. If you were to take it out and stretch it out, it would be 20 feet long. So there's a lot of space for that food to go through. It's kind of winding its way all the way through that 20-foot long path, because this is where the most important thing happens. This is where all of the nutrients, minerals, vitamins, everything that you are putting into your body is getting absorbed and then brought to the rest of your body to be used. So when you say you are what you eat, that is no joke. If you eat an apple, you are going to be absorbing all the nutrients from that apple, and your body is going to be using the apple parts to help your brain run, to help your muscles run, to help your eyes see, all the things that the rest of your body needs to stay alive. If you eat French fries, you're going to be it's going to use those same things, but it's going to use them in a different way. So So fats versus good fats and bad fats, you can watch a whole nother thing on nutrition. We're actually going to do that tomorrow. So you're going to have a little bit of a lesson on why nutrition is so important. Okay? So you truly are what you eat. What actually is happening inside of the small intestines is that there's millions and millions and millions, maybe even billions and trillions of little things called villi. Villi are like these little tiny finger-like projections that come up from the surface of the small intestine. They do two things. In this part of on the left side picture that you can see, you see these blood vessels. These are actually capillaries that are spreading out into each of these tiny little villi. They pick up the nutrients in the blood, and the blood carries those to the other parts of the body in the form of glucose. Glucose is the most important kind of broken down sugar that we use on a molecular level that is then brought to energize the rest of our body. It's the fuel for the rest of our body, okay? All the other organs, all the other tissues, everything else that your body needs, okay? It also does another thing. Villi also expands the surface area of the small intestine. So this is an example on the picture on the right of the villi. If you were to actually take each of those finger-like projections and spread those out even more, even though your small intestine is 20 feet long, it's actually 250 square feet big. So that's about the size of like a tennis court. That's how much surface area you have in your small intestine. So when you eat something, it can have all of this surface area to pick up all the nutrients in the food that you're eating and to bring that to the rest of your body. The next place that it goes is into the large intestine. So this is after the small intestine has gotten every last nutrient, every last thing that it can possibly get out of that food that's usable. Then it moves on to the large intestine. This is where things that are indigestible, so things that your small intestine cannot break down and use, things like dietary fiber and water, move into your large intestine, okay? It's called the large intestine, even though it's not 20 feet long like your small intestine is. It's actually just larger in terms of girth. So it's bigger around. That's why it's called your large intestine. So at the end of the digestive line, the large intestine, also known as the colon, its only job is to absorb the water from that mass and to dry it out into something that your body can expel in the form of poop. Yay, poop, everybody poops. So this is now the spot where the poop is going to be stored until your body can have the time to get rid of it and to go to the bathroom, okay? So muscular contractions also push these out of your body, and then digestion is done. So depending on what you eat and just your own kind of body chemistry, this whole process from the time you ate it to the time that you poop it out takes anywhere between 6 and 12 hours. So that's just something to know. Okay? That is the end of the digestive system, but I'm going to talk about some other organs that are really important for the digestion process. The liver actually cleans the blood and produces bile. So this is the digestive fluid that's needed. It's also known as stomach acid to break down the food. The gallbladder is another place that stores bile. This is an interesting fact that actually you do not need your gallbladder to survive. Some people have their gallbladder removed because it's giving them problems, but it is a organ that just stores more of that bile to break down the food. And then the third one is the pancreas, and this is a gland. And we're going to talk more about what glands do when we get to another system of the body. But this is the behind the stomach, and it produces more of those enzymes to help with digestion. So there are a lot of things going on in your body that are just helping you eat. And why do you think that is? Because food is a huge primary source to give us the energy we need to survive. We cannot live without food for very long, right? Okay, I'm not going to actually play this video. This is a video inside the real digestive system, and I will tell you this is really gross, but it's really cool. So if you have the stomach for it, then you can watch this video on your own. I will attach it to the lesson. And then you can also watch this video, which is just a fun 3-minute long digestion song. Okay? Please send me an email if you have any questions or concerns about this. And also use the follow-up worksheet to complete the lesson today. This is just going to be a matching worksheet where you write down the system of the body, the organ that goes in the system of the body. So it's kind of matching, like where on the body is the stomach, where on the body is the pancreas, and you are just going to do a matching. For an extension, a challenge is to write down underneath it one thing that organ does. So maybe the most important thing that organ does for the digestive system. Okay? All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. And I will hopefully be seeing each of you soon.